all the way from sunny Scotland. Good morning to you, Dorothy.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sunny in Scotland or not. It's usually rainy, isn't it?
It depends on which part of Scotland you're in and what time of year. We're actually been very lucky on the east coast of Scotland this week.
Well, praise be to God. I'm glad to hear it. There are a few stories on the LifeSite News website that I wanted to touch base with you on. Let's start briefly and look at the article. The headline goes, These bishops stand in the way of prohibiting communion for Biden, pro-abortion politicians. Now, what's interesting, I think, about this story, and I want you to summarize it for us, but I think in America there's like 6 cardinals, if I'm not mistaken, and 5 of those 6 signed this letter. Tell us, what's the story here?
Well, the story, I think, is division between the American bishops on the issue of giving communion to pro-abortion politicians and other famous people who create a scandal by receiving the Eucharist. Not only to the faithful, but indeed at their own spiritual peril. So I think the sad thing about this particular story, I think a major point is that what the signatories seem to have done is they have asked that there be no vote on whether or not a document should even begin to be drafted. So basically, our Archbishop Gomez, who's the president of the USCCB, has got a doctrine committee, and the doctrine committee is ready to start preliminary drafts of a document on what they're calling Eucharistic coherence, which means that actions are basically matching words. So the church teaches that abortion is a terrible evil, a serious moral evil, and some Catholic politicians are promoting it, and yet they are receiving communion as if they were in a state of grace and following and promoting the teachings of the church. So. The sad thing here is that these bishops have asked to drop the entire issue of Eucharistic coherence from their June meeting. Yeah, and again, the vote is just about, should we start a preliminary draft, not here's the document, everyone sign. So, yeah, it's sad.
Is this a case of tone deafness? Do they just not understand that the faithful are kind of getting fed up with seeing all of this public shenanigans going on, and they just want some coherence to what the church actually teaches?
No, I think it's worse than that.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, no, I think, I'm really sorry to say this, but I fear that some of the signatories, not all the signatories, the auxiliary bishops are probably under a great deal of pressure.
I bet.
But I suspect that some of the bishops may not actually full-heartedly believe in the church's teaching against abortion.
Well, how tragic is that, especially given the gospel passage today and the warning that Chrysostom and Augustine and Jerome and Gregory the Great gave in regards to the least in the kingdom, if they teach error, hellfire could await them in the future. It's kind of a scary thought. So where do we go from here? Do you think that, is there any indication that Archbishop Gomez will drop this item from their meeting?
No, there's no indication. And I want to have a shout out here to The Pillar, which is a new online Catholic magazine. The Pillar does yeoman's work. They've published all the important documents about this particular issue. The letters, a letter from the head of the CDF, which is the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. Archbishop Gomez wrote to them, and Archbishop Ladaria of the CDF wrote back to him. All these documents. So, I work for a different news organization, but I'm very happy to promote the wonderful work that The Pillar is doing.
All right. Well, praise be to God. We will link to it. You can find it over at LifeSite News, by the way. Just especially search for all the articles that Dorothy puts out. She's got a whole bunch of them that are very good. Well, let's transition to this other very complicated story. I mentioned this on Monday's program. The headline goes like this: French court removes 6 children from British parents of 10 after dispute over Catholic schooling. Now, this seems to be a very complicated story, but what really caught my attention in this was, one, they're trying to homeschool their kids. I try to homeschool my kids, so that's kind of, anything like that kind of always makes me nervous. But number two, they took these kids out of the home. They placed them in the home of a Muslim who taught them Muslim prayers and wouldn't let them go to Holy Mass. That, to me, is very scandalous, and I would hope that the Catholic Church locally would stand up for these kids. But what is the story here?
All right. So what happened is you had a couple, an English couple from Yorkshire who went to France in 2005 with their 4 British-born kids. They wanted to live out in the countryside. The cost of living is cheaper in France, and the father thought he'd make his living as a roofer. He's a roofer. He's a blue-collar guy. So, and he mostly works fixing the houses of other British expatriates, because it's kind of the British dream to go and live in France. Better weather.
Is that what all those wars were about? I'm just curious. I mean, you guys seem to fight each other all the time over there.
Well, it's complicated. Let's just put it that way. At any rate, so what basically happened is they originally put their children into French schools, just where they were. And they became concerned for the faith of the children in these very secular schools, but also there seemed to have been a lot of bullying of the older girls, for example, because they were English and because in fact, their parents were practicing Catholics. That's unfortunately a theme that really come out in this story. The dad's not a Catholic. The mom's a Catholic. The dad's not a Catholic. So
is he Anglican or agnostic, or what is?
No, I think he's. All I've been told is he doesn't have a religion.
I see.
So I suspect that just means he comes from a standard northern
secular
English
home.
Protestant background. Yeah, his grandparents probably went to church.
Sure.
So. At any rate, So in short, what happened is that the mom wanted to have really good Catholic schooling, so she put the 6 youngest children. So we're dealing with the 6 youngest now. There's now 10 children. 6 were born in France. So the French-born children, 2 of them were put into an excellent girls' boarding school, a Catholic girls' boarding school run by Dominican nuns. I have friends who went there. It's a lovely school, and. The boys, 2 of the boys, the older boys, old enough to go to school, were put in another boarding school a bit farther away, and the 2 little boys were in a local public school. But the dad really wanted the kids home. He missed them, meanwhile, social workers had gotten involved because when the mom first took her children out of their French public school, she didn't actually inform the school. A parent. Well, yeah, I don't think she. At any rate, what happened was a parent called up social services. So a parent of another child in the same school called up social services to complain about these English people taking their boys out of school. So that, unfortunately, is how social services first entered into the life of this family. And French social services, was very concerned to discover the existence of 10 children to the same married couple.
Yeah, I bet that could be shocking to them. I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, they were, people sometimes think that France is a Catholic country, but this has not been true for over 100 years.
Yeah.
There's a small French Catholic minority, sometimes influential, sometimes not. And they have fought for the faith, and that's why there are these Catholic boarding schools, for example, still in existence. However, an English blue collar family in Normandy is not likely to know the French Catholic former aristocracy.
So, I mean, this family's must have been living in France now for a decade at minimum.
Oh, more than that, since 2005.
Okay, so they've been living there a long time.
Years. Yeah.
Now, the French Revolution is alive and well in France, apparently. But okay, so the kids right now, are they still being fostered in the home of the Muslim?
Yeah, so the children were divided up, which is another sad aspect of the story. So if I understand correctly, 2 boys were sent one place, 2 boys were sent the other place, and the 2 little girls who should have just been put back in their convent school. I mean, seriously, it's really shocking. They happened to be visiting their mom for the weekend when the social workers turned up to say, we're taking your kids. So, and the mother fled with all the children. You are right. It's a complicated story. So
we have about 2 minutes to until we have to say goodbye. So it's gotten so complicated. But where are they at? Where are they going to see their kids again? Are they going to be able to get them back? Is the church getting involved to advocate on their behalf? What is that about?
The church has not been involved, except the greater church around the world, because people have had their hearts have been touched, and they've been donating money for the legal fund. So hopefully the children will be freed by late June, but we don't know yet.
And do you know where they're donating the money to? Like, how do people find that?
Yeah, what people should do is go to LifeSite News, read the article, or skip down to the bottom, and they will find a link to the England-based fundraiser.
Wow. I can imagine that expats in a foreign country, things get even more complicated because I'm guessing this couple still sees themselves as English.
Yes, they do. And they also see their children as English because they have English parents, and English is the first language of the home.
And yet the French government doesn't see it that way.
No, it would appear that the 6 children born in France are considered French by the French government.
So they figure they can do whatever they see fit on behalf of those kids.
Unfortunately, yes. Some countries really feel that the state owns children, not their parents.
Wow. This is the fruit of the French Revolution right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
So what do you think the chances are that a good resolution will come out of the story?
I think it depends on the lawyer. I think it depends on whether the state has actually overstepped itself in this issue, which I think it has. But again, it would take a good lawyer, a good French lawyer, to be able to sort out to what extent France has violated the rights of the children. France certainly has violated the rights of the children insofar as the right to their parents and the right to practice their religion. So yeah, that goes against the UN Convention of Human Rights for the Child.
All right. Well, golly gee whiz, that's a pretty complicated and tragic story so far. Let's keep them in prayer. Dorothy Cummings McLean from LifeSite News, thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing this information with us. God bless you and God love you. Have a great day. We're going to be right back. Bishop Umberts is coming up.